The fact that I was up in Northeast Mississippi campaigning the other day, and as I was campaigning, I was in Houston, and I left Houston, and I was headed toward Itawamba County. I was going to Fulton that night, and as I was trying to decide which direction we were going to go in, we decided to go on the Natchez Trace. The reason we chose to go on the Natchez Trace is because it's been real busy, and you don't get great cell phone coverage on the Natchez Trace. And so every now and then we'll get on it so that we don't have to answer the calls. So on this particular day, I was in Northeast Mississippi on the Natchez Trace, heading north, and my cell phone rang. My cell phone rang, and it was a 202 area code. And I looked at it. I said, I might better take this one, so I answered it. And for the first time in my life, the lady on the other end of the line said, "This is so-and-so with the White House. The president would like to speak to you." Well, that's pretty heady stuff for a boy from Florence, Mississippi. But the first thing that went through my mind is, oh my God, I'm on the Natchez Trace. Is my phone going to drop? But as we got into that conversation and the president said, "You know, Tate, I really want to come to Mississippi because that election down there is important. You know, we only have 3 governor's races in America in 2019, in Kentucky, in Louisiana, and in Mississippi. And so not only is the election next Tuesday critically important for the future of Mississippi, it's also critically important when moving into the 2020 elections. If you believe that our country is headed in the right direction, if you believe that the worst thing that we could do is go back to the days of more government, less freedom, more taxes, more regulation, if you believe we ought to go to a time in our state and in our country, and you support President Trump, next Tuesday is critically important. But not only is it important to the 2020 elections, it's critically important for the future of Mississippi. You've heard me time and time again stand on this very stage and talk to you about what is most important for the future of our state. We need a governor focused on job creation, bringing better and higher paying jobs to Mississippi. The way we get there is through investment in workforce development and investment in workforce training. That is the reason in this campaign I have proposed a $100 million capital investment in our community colleges to get our people ready and prepared to do the jobs not of the last 50 years, but the jobs of the next 50 years. But to do that, as you know, I don't believe that government creates jobs. I believe that government creates an environment which encourages those of you in the private sector to invest capital and create jobs. And the way in which we create that environment really is threefold. Number one, we have to have a fiscally responsible government. As Speaker Gunn said earlier, Mississippi today is in the best financial shape we've ever been in. Mississippi today is in the best fiscal shape we have ever been in. When I walked in the office in January of 2004 as our state's chief financial officer, Mississippi had $13 million in our rainy day fund. We ended our fiscal year on June 30th. We had a full rainy day fund, 10% of our annual operating budget, $554 million set aside for a rainy day. Because what we as Mississippians know better than most, whether it's an economic disaster or a natural disaster, there are always going to be days that rain. And you as taxpayers deserve to have a government that is prepared for it. We have a truly balanced budget that only spends recurring revenue for recurring expenditures. We only appropriated 98% of our expected revenue. We collected $350 million more in the fiscal year that ended June 30th than the year before, and we've collected over $80 million more in the first 3 months of this fiscal year than was originally projected. Mississippi is on the rise. The second thing we must do if we're going to see long-term economic growth and prosperity as Mississippi is we must have a tax code that is fair, one that is flat, one that encourages economic development, not one that discourages it. That's the reason that Republicans passed the largest tax cut in Mississippi history. Now the other side screamed and yelled and said, "Oh my goodness, if y'all do that, revenues are going to vanish. We're not going to have enough money to run state government." I just told you that we collected $350 million more The other side would say in spite of, I'd say because of the largest tax cut in Mississippi history. You see, the liberal Democrats believe that government is entitled to everything that you make, and anything that they let you keep, you ought to be thankful for. We, on the other hand, believe that government doesn't have anything that it doesn't first take from somebody else. And while there are core functions of government that we must fund, we believe that you know better how to spend your money than any governmental entity ever will. If Mississippi chooses to go in a different direction next Tuesday and elect the liberal Democrats to lead our state, they've already promised they're going to repeal those tax cuts. Everyone in here that pays income taxes, your taxes are going to go up. But not only will every one of your income taxes go up, let's look around the room here. Let's look at companies like Toyota, like Walmart, like Vertex Aerospace. Let's look at the companies that are job creators in our state. Caterpillar. Your taxes are going to go up too. Because when my opponent talks about you evil corporations, he completely ignores the hundreds of thousands of Mississippians who have good paying jobs at those entities that are providing for their families. I will tell you, if you believe in job creation and bringing higher and better paying jobs in Mississippi, it would not be wise to elect someone who promised you on the first day he's going to make your cost of doing business go up. The third thing we must do if we're going to see long-term economic growth and prosperity in Mississippi is we must improve the educational attainment level of our citizens. I mentioned earlier that we would invest $100 million in capital in creating and growing the workforce development programs at our community colleges. We'd also work to ensure that our K-12 institutions and our community colleges are working together for dual enrollment and other things that we have already started and we're seeing tremendous progress on. But there's been a lot of lies told during this campaign. It's always true in the political season, particularly when you have liberal Democrats that are running. They cannot run on what they believe in. Instead, they want to attack the other side. But let's talk a little bit about educational achievement in Mississippi. In 2011, when I was running for lieutenant governor, the national high school graduation rate was 83%. Mississippi's was 73%. Last year, the national average rose from 83% to 84%. Mississippi's during that time rose from 73% to 84%. We are now on top of the national average for high school graduation rates. That's 3,000 more kids in Mississippi every single year that have a totally different outlook on life and have a totally different set of opportunities. But our success is not limited to high school graduation rates. Just yesterday, now I want everybody in here to imagine this. Imagine these words strung together in one sentence. Education, Mississippi, #1 in the nation. That's what was announced yesterday. And it was announced because conservative policies work, but it was also announced not because anybody in Jackson deserves credit. It was announced that Mississippi is #1 in the nation in gains in NAEP testing results. We are now on top of the national average. It was announced because of our teachers, because of our administrators, because of our parents, and most of all, it was announced because of our kids. All we've done is raise the level of expectations. Mississippians have done what Mississippians do. They've risen up and they've met those increased expectations. So don't believe the lies that you're being told out there. We're going to spend more money on public education than ever been spent. In fact, $400 million more this year than just 4 years ago. I urge you, as you go to the polls next Tuesday, think about not only what's best for you individually, but think about what's best for every single kid in Mississippi. Our educational achievement results speak for themselves. We need to continue on that path. And if we do, we will continue to grow Mississippi's economy. After all, Mississippi's in the best economic shape we've ever been in. Mississippi has the lowest unemployment rate than at any time in our state's history. Mississippi has more people working today than any time in our state's history. In fact, we have 88,000 more people working today than were working just 8 years ago. My friends, conservative policies work. They work not only for you as individuals, not only for our job creators, they work for our economy as a whole, and they work for every single Mississippian, regardless of their political views, regardless of their political affiliation. Conservative policies work for Mississippi. The election is next Tuesday. Mississippi, it's time to choose. My name is Tate Reeves. It's been my honor to serve you for the last 16 years as your Chief Financial Officer and as your Lieutenant Governor. Today, I humbly ask for your vote next Tuesday to continue Mississippi on a path to greatness. Working together, we will make Mississippi an even better place to invest capital. We'll make Mississippi an even better place to create jobs. And yes, believe it or not, we'll make Mississippi an even better place to raise a family. Thank you, and may God bless the great state of Mississippi.